Are we going? Okay. I'd like to call the Nisswa City Council meeting for November 16th to order. And if you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item on our agenda is to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move we approve the agenda for tonight as amended.
Correct. You are aware, everyone, we have an amended agenda. Okay.
I'll
All right.
second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second item is the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I move the consent calendar.
I second that.
Very well. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next item is open forum. First item on open forum is public comment. This is the time for anyone who has anything they want to bring up that isn't on the agenda. You will be given time at that point when that item comes up if you so wish to discuss at that time. If this is not on the agenda and you'd like to address the council, now is your time to do so. Seeing none, we will close open public comment. Second item under open forum is a department presentation by our planning and zoning, Brittany Court.
Good evening, council. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to present to you kind of where we are in planning and zoning and where we hope to go. Next slide, please. There we go. So this year, this is what we issued permits for. This is probably about 10 days outdated, so that has moved a little bit at least. So this year we have $25.4 million in development. That is all development that's within the city. So that's houses, sheds, garages, everything. Last year we were about 7.4 million, I believe. So we've had a very drastic increase this year. I attributed that to North Pines filling out as well as Pine Trail Homes. So we did have 47 new houses, and then you can see kind of the rest of the breakdown there. I want to go down every line, but it's been quite a busy year, so that's good. We had 19 new violations this year. 17 have been resolved. Those remaining 2 I have in the front focus. I plan to hopefully have those resolved by the end of the year. That's my goal at least. Since I came in to the position, I've kind of modified our enforcement rules a little bit, where I try to send a letter to try and create communication instead of sending a letter with any kind of an accusation or anything like that in it. Tends to get really good results, so we're sticking with that. So we've started the inspections process, which is new to this year. We have had 57. That number isn't right. We're about 61 now. We have had 3 different concerns that have been caught. So that proves that this is something that is good for us to do in our community, at least in my opinion, it does. One of them was the structure was already there when I pulled up to measure the staking, and 2 of them were setback concerns. So, and then the average time on an inspection, not including drive time, is about 7 minutes. So including drive time, 15 maybe. So it's not a very onerous time constraint on that, or time wait. What's the word I'm looking for? Time commitment. Thank you, Jenny. We have reached step 4 in our Green Steps program. I am just over the moon about that. I was kind of worried we wouldn't get there. But now hopefully we're on to step 5. Step 5 is the top step for those of you that aren't aware. Step 5 is essentially our growth in the program, showing less use of fuel, mileage, electricity, therms, things like that. And then we also did a Retap assessment. So we had an energy expert come out to our Spirits of Nisswa building. And we did a walkthrough with thermal cameras and kind of looked at structures and how things existed. And they're going to give us a report on how we can save money and energy. So we should expect that back probably 3 weeks-ish. And I'll make sure to share that all with you as well. So this is kind of my prediction for the coming year. With all the residential growth that we've had, I suspect that that will slow. But I think commercial growth will kind of pick up a little bit, especially with the backage roads being considered. Since we had our preliminary meeting on the backage roads, I have had quite a few calls about either expanding businesses or new businesses coming to town. So I foresee that being our next year or two, depending on economy and such. Okay, so what can we look forward to? Hopefully green steps, we can reach step 5. That one is very hard to get, so we'll see. I am definitely trying, but do you have a question, Mark?
Well, I was just curious if a Green Step Cities program, what really is that?
So it's a voluntary program for cities within the state of Minnesota. And what we do is they have different requirements for different steps. So like step 1 was basically sign up and create your baseline. And your step 2 is action items that you're proving to try and be more of a green city. So like for us, a big part of it was switching out our light fixtures. So we have LEDs, switching to 33% recycled paper, things like that to try and hopefully be more sustainable.
Okay, so it's more, it's like trying to be energy efficient.
Yep, for
Okay.
both resources and money, so win-win. I anticipate getting my ICC, which is International Code Council Residential Inspector Certification. My hope is to get that done before we get busy for the next summer, depending on testing schedules. Also, I'm still trudging towards my AICP certification. I'm not eligible to take the exam until next year, but it's still something that I'm working towards and keeping in the forefront. That stands for Association of Certified Planners, Association of International Certified Planners, my mistake. So that's something we look forward to. I'm also being intentional about cross-training opportunities. I've talked to a Public Works gentleman that informed me that one of our previous planning administrators had their SSTS certification. So once I kind of get the certifications that are really important in line, I plan to seek that out a little further and figure out if that's worth bringing to the city or not. Future land use map and the housing study is something that we are definitely keeping the forefront, planning and zoning, as well as the administrative department, because we're keeping the downtown study with those other 2 studies to try and figure out how to approach it best with taxpayer money in mind, and how to do it most efficiently. We are still talking and considering our wayfinding signs and our interactive kiosks for the businesses that aren't on the main drag of Main Street. The backage roads and water system, which you are of course aware of, but that's something to look forward to as we move forward. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't want Brittany to blush or anything, but when she came on board, I thought, she's a little young to do this kind of a job and everything else, but I was watching her. And by golly, she took the bull by the horns, proverbially speaking, and she's doing a great job. She's doing better than I am. She knows the ordinances better than I do, but that's not hard since I forget most of them anyway. But no, she's doing a good job. I just wanted to say that publicly.
Thank you, Don.
No, I'm fine.
Everything. Thank you,
All right,
Brittany. Appreciate it. Okay. Report, city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. Just a couple updates outside of some of the new business items I have later on our agenda. I've been working with Woodseth and also with the county on moving forward with our roundabout project. So there's a lot of preliminary work happening now. We anticipate kind of our first kickoff meeting in December. And then once we have more of a timeline and a structure for how that project will come together, we'll keep the council informed as well. The City of Lights is coming up a week from Friday. It's the 40th anniversary, and I wanted to just mention it here at our meeting that the chamber has put a lot of effort into making that a great event, and would appreciate everybody coming to downtown Nisswa during that time. The chamber and the city are also working together to put together a listing of all of the events that will happen downtown in 2022. So we can just have everything approved at the beginning of the year, have everyone on the same page, and hopefully have things a little bit more organized. So that will be something that will come to the council either December or January once we have time to work through all the details. And then the Nisswa School and I are working together. This is the time of year where the League of Minnesota Cities puts out their Nisswa Mayor for a Day essay contest. And the school has agreed to offer it as an opportunity for their fourth grade students, if they'd like to write an essay about what it would be like to be mayor for the day. They will bring those into the city, and I'll make copies, send them to the league, because the league reviews them and actually issues awards for some of the best essays per grade. But I'll also share those with the council in December as well, so you can see the participation. So I'm looking forward to that project with the school.
Great.
Any questions for me?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. City attorney? Yep. City engineer?
Not a lot. I think Jenny mentioned around about usually I carry so much that nobody wants a microphone on. Roundabout Jenny mentioned, and then the trail, we're in the preliminary design right now. Just, it didn't go away. We're still working on it, working on some of the easements we need. The wastewater treatment facility, Mark Allen is kind of finishing that up. He's put a $33,000 retainage for that till next year. So it's pretty much down to the final things for next year. Then we're finalizing that lift station number 3 and working on some sanitary and starting up some water studies to see where we want to go with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Joe saying that reminds me that I forgot to mention to you that during my report that, yes, we're working on trail land acquisition stuff now. Working with Jenny and with Amber and with Joe and his crew at Widseth. Drawings have been received. We're now in the process of working with an appraiser to get land valuations so we can start to talk to those people who will need to acquire land rights from for direct purchase. So just know that that's underway now and more to come on that as we go.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have questions for Tom or Joe? Thank you very much. On to new business. First item on new business is it Grotkin subdivision extension request? Jenny or Amber or Brittany, one of the two.
So Mr. Grotkin had requested a Mets and bounds as well as a rezone in, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 2018? And then I'm not really sure where the disconnect came in, but it wasn't ever filed, whether it was a miscommunication or, whatever the case was. So Mr. Grotkin would like to request an extension of that. The reason the extension is necessary is our ordinance states if it's not improved within 2 years, recorded within 2 years, it requires either an extension or a new application. So he would like to request the city council to extend that approval.
How long is an extension good for? An additional 2 years?
I don't believe that we have a set parameter. I'll defer to Mr. Pearson. Would it be?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think your ordinance says that. I think you probably have the discretion to do whatever the applicant's asking for, and I don't know what that timeframe looks like.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve an extension for the broken parcel B on Mission Road as requested. The deadline would be July 1st, 2022 for the extension.
I'll second that.
Okay. Will that work? Okay. Should ask, but okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed. Number 2 is the Nisswa Garden Club appeal of community center fees.
Hi, my name is Barbara Bogdanovich. I'm the current president of the Nisswa Garden Club. I think you all have been provided a letter from me, sort of detailing our request, so I don't want to bore you with all that again. Do you have any questions? Or would you like me to summarize?
Have you talked to Amber about what the,
Yes, well, she's provided me with the details of what would be, are the upcoming fees. And only one was slightly different than I anticipated, but as I mentioned in the letter, we're a nonprofit with a declining membership and an older membership. So we can't do things like put tables up and down by ourselves anymore. And we have never been charged in the past. So we're just asking that, since we do provide extensive beautification projects in the city, and we've made that a priority to continue to do that. And even when our volunteer lists are declining, we would ask that you defer or not require us to pay fees, or at least limit that amount.
Well, when I read this, I looked at it as best I could, and I thought that what we have, I'm in favor of what you want to do, but I think we have to be careful how we do it. We can't pick you as one nonprofit in the city and say you're different than everybody else. So we have to look at changing some of the words in what we passed last month. I looked at what we passed last month, and I couldn't figure out exactly how to word the changes to get to where I felt that we should go to. So my suggestion here, I don't know what the other two members here think, is that we send it back to you two and say, we want to change this so we don't have a problem that's being expressed tonight, but we also want to make sure we don't do something illegal that excludes other nonprofits. I don't know what that language would be, but I would suggest that if the two of you were with the administrator can sit down and work on changing the language so it works for everybody, I'd be in favor of that, but I don't know how else to do it. I just don't want to fall into the cracks here where we make one change for you and it's not good for everybody else. So I just suggest we send it back and let them come up with the right words and come back at the next meeting with everybody has agreed to. That'd be where I'd come from.
Mark, do you have any?
No, I agree with that too.
I think that, just so we're clear, I think maybe the council, did we put staff in a bad spot? Inadvertently, because what we're trying to do is recoup costs, labor costs for cleaning up and everything. And that's what we wanted staff to come up with, and they did, and we did. I shouldn't say they did, we put this together, and it doesn't seem, for yourself, for like the number of times your group may use it, but when you have to do it every single time a group uses it, and then you have to pull that staff member from doing the other job, either the other job doesn't get done or equates it to overtime or whatever it might do. So the council asked staff to put this together to how do we cover that time? And they did a good job. But I see your point. I understand the point. And I don't know that there isn't room for compromise, but what like Don says, what does that look like? So I would want to give staff the authority to take a look at it and let us know, and with that.
I'd just be curious what Amber's thoughts are on that, or if that's.
Well, if she's had time to look at it or give it thought,
Yeah.
whatever you want,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, in the past, and going through all the files, I believe that it was somehow, some way, shape or form agreed upon that the garden club would get 2 meetings at the community center. I don't know when or where or how that came to be, but that could be something to consider. I think my biggest thing is this the answer going forward for all inquiries? Or how do we start, from my perspective, different organizations, how do we create continuity and fairness based on the different levels of services and things they may provide the community? Is this deferring to staff all the time or just in this situation?
Well, I think the problem is you have to be fair to everybody. You can't pick out one group and say, you're special, you don't have to do so and so. And that's all I'm saying, and I don't know what the right language is for that.
I was gonna, no, I was gonna ask if Sean could
Yeah.
offer a comment, so.
I have a suggestion to this. So it's a labor issue of taking tables down and putting tables up, correct?
Part of it, and part of it's the vacuuming, the cleaning, depends.
So
It-
here we have a fire station that the tables are always open. They're always up. They never come down.
Yeah.
We meet there twice a month. It's vacuumed, it's cleaned. All we ask as a fire department is that they clean up behind themselves, which I think you're capable of doing.
Yes.
And I would open the door for them.
Well, there we go. Can that,
Yeah.
if that can work.
If that can work with you guys.
Well,
I mean, as long as you don't meet on a Tuesday night, that's the only,
Thursdays at lunch.
yeah. And then Wednesdays, we have another group in there.
okay.
I
Thank you,
guess
Sean. That would be just then up to the garden club if that was agreeable, so you can think about it.
That's something staff could work out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you for that offer.
want to make sure the attorney would agree with us that something like that would be fair and legal. And if we do that to the garden club as a fire department, do we have to let everybody do that?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Nope, I think you're fine.
okay.
And then, as far as, I'm interested in hearing from staff and they can work with you, Jenny. Did we back staff into a corner by accident? Or by not thinking it through? I don't know. So if anyone.
We'll certainly talk about it, and
Yeah,
if
you
anything
guys
needs to
let
be
us know.
adjusted, we'll bring it back to you
Okay.
if, yes,
Good.
absolutely, so. Great,
All right, thank you, Sean.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so. It asked for a council action motion, so what do we need to do?
I'll make a motion that we send the issue back to Amber and staff to make a recommendation to the city council to come back at our December meeting with a recommendation.
And I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Final payment request number 5 for lift station 3. Joe?
Yeah, I talked about that earlier. That's for the 32,399.68. And again, I'll turn my mic on. And this is final payment. They've turned in the IC 134, so they've done what we need to close out as far as bookwork documents go. They've done all the punch list items. Everything's cleaned up and been inspected. So I would recommend final payment, close that.
So there's nothing else that's required on that one.
No,
Okay,
and it's been functional for, I think, April.
okay.
The only question I was gonna ask when I read this is, are we responsible for spreading dirt, grass, seed, et cetera, around there? Because it wasn't, I mean, in all fairness to the company and to everybody else, it was not a good year for growing grass.
No,
so-
that's happening all over.
Right, so are we gonna have, will the city have some culpability, have to go back and do that next spring, or?
I don't think the city will have to, but if it comes an issue, I guess with Grandview or something
Yeah.
like that, that we can
Okay.
certainly address it later. But I don't know that that's a warranty thing that we'd want to hold any kind of retainage for that.
Okay.
And if there is a real issue next year, we don't get any rain. Some of that stuff just sits there and sits dormant. And we'll come back in the spring when we get rain. So
What's
Are we
the-
not
having-
unique. The
are we-
wastewater treatment facility is a little easier because they have spraying going on.
Are we having problem with grass growing there right now?
There's always problems with grass
Yeah.
growing in that area.
Because I know like on County Road 13, they Did that, and it worked fine there.
Yeah, it's a different grass type that
Ah.
they're trying to grow, and Grandview's not gonna want rye.
Okay.
You don't want to, but yeah,
Is there a warranty period?
I didn't,
Is there a warranty period?
yeah, there's a warranty period on, and all the work we do with the city, so we can go back and look at it. It's addressable. It is a small area.
Yeah.
I don't know that the growth has ever been that good there because of all the pine trees and such, but we'll certainly look at it again.
okay.
Well, in that case, I would go ahead and recommend that we go ahead and approve the final payment of the 2020 lift station 3 improvements and as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. And number 14 or 4, payment application number 15, Eagle Construction.
Yep, this is for payment application for $34,394.90, and that'll reduce the retainage down to $33,000 on a $4.1 million job. Mark Allen has been staying with this project to the end, so
Mhm.
he plans on. So I stay a little bit to the side for him because it's Mark's baby, but everything seems to be going okay out there.
Okay.
We've had no real issues with the contractor that they haven't been able to address, so.
Were they able to get I believe, was it the wash bay and stuff they were trying to get up and going?
It is not complete yet. I believe all of the parts are now in, so it's just a matter of getting the subs out there to finish the work, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I anticipate the final pay application to come to the council in December, so that we can, we'll get the money and then we'll hold it until the spring for the final. Yeah, but so then we can close out the PFA loan.
Okay.
And I recommend that we go ahead and pay for the 2020 wastewater treatment facility improvements as presented. Let's see, that is for $34,394.90.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution certifying unpaid sewer charges 2021.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no discussion, I'll move the 2021 delinquent accounts as presented by staff.
I'll second. Any further discussion? No. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Planning Commission member recommendation for appointment city council.
I apologize. I didn't include this in my memo, but I wanted to take a moment just to let you know. One of them will be for a 3-year term and one will be a 4-year term. I was going to speak with both of them to see if they had a preference instead of just picking myself. But I'm certainly available if you have questions about the choices or anything like that.
Mr. Mayor, I move the approval by the city council for the 2 applicants for the Planning and Zoning Commission as presented by staff.
I'll second that.
Do we need to add to that,
I think she's going to go back and check with them first before
so whatever the term,
they determine the
they
term.
can determine the terms.
One will be 3 and one will be 4. It's just who's assigned to what.
We need that in the motion, Tom?
Yeah, I suppose you better. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we
Then in
can-
that case, we will do John for.
Well, I
4.
didn't know what we're adding to the motion is that you can let us know who's what. basically.
Understood.
You guys can discuss it and put it together.
My mistake.
Yeah,
That's fine.
okay. Will you amend your second?
Yeah, I'll amend my second then to include that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7. This is the police squad Sourcewell grant application. And quotes. Chief?
Do you have any questions for me regarding the grant? Wait a minute, no, this is a grant, yeah, great. Got two things here, got confused, it's easy to do.
Is there a time when you'll know whether we're successful with this or not, or?
I don't know how long it takes for them to approve or deny a grant application, but I would anticipate it's gonna be pretty soon.
Yeah, they're pretty quick about the turnaround, so it shouldn't take very long. And they're aware of this as well, so.
I was wondering, we approved the purchase of the squad car in this year. And if the grant doesn't come through until next year, is that going to have a problem?
Technically, the squad car is for next year's budget,
Right.
so.
I'm just wondering.
I kind of
because
view it as the whole thing's a package. The canine project is a package, the cost of the dog, the car, the rigging of the car, and other things that we'll have to purchase for the dog, so. I don't see it as a problem. I think it'll be all right, because we're not gonna be paying for a lot of it, until next year anyway. The items have just been ordered, and the reason we're kind of trying to be on top of it is because we really don't know how long things are gonna take. As compared to years past, they want to start ordering rigging equipment now. So they will certainly have it, close to the first of the year.
Is it possible that, hopefully not, that the dog will be ready to go before the car?
No, probably not.
Okay, good.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the application by the police department, the grant from Sourcewell as requested.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah. Number 8, a policy to establish a citywide capital improvement plan. Jenny?
Thank you. So the next 3 items are policies that I drafted as a result of our budget process. This first one is to formally establish a citywide capital improvement plan. It's pretty short, but it just speaks to the fact that all departments will have a long-term capital improvement plan. And what the goal of that will be each year. That will be reviewed by departments as part of our annual budget process. Would just like to formalize that, if I could.
Okay. Questions for Jenny?
No, I'm glad to see that, actually, that we're setting that up.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move that we approve the policy to establish a citywide capital improvement plan as presented.
Can I think about it? A second.
You're sitting closer to her than I am. I'm not going down it. No. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 9, policy to establish a compensation study schedule.
So this one establishes a schedule where the city would complete a compensation study for all city positions on a rotating 3-year basis. So every 3 years, we would engage a consultant to do an independent study and bring those results back, and we'll incorporate that into our budget process.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move the policy to establish a schedule for the completion of a compensation study for all city of Nisswa positions as presented.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Policy establish an ordinance and policy review rotation schedule.
And so this last policy will establish a schedule for each of our ordinances and policies so that we don't go too many years without at least having somebody review a policy or an ordinance to take a look to see if they're still relevant appropriate for how city operations are functioning at the time. And just to make sure that we're keeping track with how things are done and the way we'd like to see them done. Any questions?
So this will be for every 4 years now, the review.
I believe the policies, yes, 4 years, and the ordinances actually might be the same. I think I staggered when I would start them because we're just completing our recodification process that you will see in December. So we don't need to review our ordinances right away, but we will start work on our policies, yes, next year.
And one of the things I'd spoken with Jenny about on this, and I don't know how the rest of the council feels, and it doesn't need to be included, but it's more of a point of interest to me, is one of the things I found when we come, especially in planning and zoning, for example, when we come up on ordinances, you know, why is that setback, say 15 feet where 10 feet is the norm? And we can't find why. So hopefully when we do this, we put what the board was thinking at the time. So at least future councils have some understanding of what the thought process that went into it. Because if the process is outdated and that's not an issue anymore, that would be nice to know at least how they got there. So just.
Sometimes you don't find out that you've got an ordinance which is not quite right until you have an application to do something with it. So that's kind of hard sometimes.
Well, I was just my 2 cents. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion.
I move that we go ahead and approve the policy to establish a schedule for reviewing the city ordinances and city policies as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Park and Recreation request to accept the resignation of Terry Hansen and approve updated job description and authorized posting. If we don't approve this, he has to stay, right?
You can battle him on that one.
You're the department head. Won't you talk to him?
I've tried. That was step one. Yeah, so that's pretty self-explanatory, that whole thing. Terry Hansen is putting in for his retirement effective December 3rd. So we first and foremost wish him the best in his retirement, and we thank him for all the hard work and 20 years of dedication to the city. So we appreciate him very much, and he will be missed. The next steps we took, looked at a few different job descriptions across the state, talked with Public Works to see if there were any efficiencies or organizational changes that we wanted to kind of make at this time. And we ultimately decided to proceed with the same structural organization, and maybe some nuances down the road and the details of the work might be changed. So it was updated and reviewed by Baker Tilly, and that is all shown in your packet what the updated job description is.
Anybody have any questions for Amber?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move to accept the resignation of Terry Hansen effective December 3rd, 2021. I don't know if I should use the word with regret or what the right word is. Don't like to see him go, but that's it then.
I'm happy for him. Not happy for us. So. You want to do?
And then number 2, approve.
And approve the updated job description and authorize.
Those in separate
posting.
motions.
Can we do them all in one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
let's
think
just
so.
do them all in one.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll add that to the motion that the update of the Parks Maintenance Technician is also approved.
okay,
And I'll second that.
very good. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Fire Department vehicle purchase. This is a late addition that was thrown in. Chief?
In your packet, you found our request there and our quote from the state bid from 1040 Ford. We're just looking for approval. We're not using any city funds for this. We have fundraised 100% of the money for rigging and for the vehicle. We're just asking you to own it.
Question for you, radios.
Radios, we're taking the radio that's out of the current
Okay.
command vehicle today and putting in that because our radios don't need to be encrypted like the police department.
Okay, so the police department, I know we're gonna be, they gotta go, we're swapping them out. We're getting new, they're getting new ones.
Mhm.
Are you in the same boat?
We don't, as a fire service, we don't have to be encrypted like law enforcement does. And
Okay.
that's the way I understand it, that's the big upgrade.
Okay,
And our equipment's getting old and outdated, but our plan is we've already asked Baxter Police Department for their old mobiles. They're not sure if they can give them up yet, but we've asked many places in the cities for their old mobiles because people are just giving them away because there's no support for them anymore. And we plan to run them in the ground. And
Is
in my
there-
budget, I buy a radio a year
okay.
and just trying to keep our head above the water.
And I don't know what the police department is doing with their old mobiles, and I know they said you don't have to be encrypted.
Yeah, I've asked Craig actually tonight. If,
Okay.
if and when he gives up his mobiles, because we're not interested in the truck radios, because as you know, our trucks don't go out a ton. So there's not a lot of use on those radios.
Yeah.
But our mobile radios are used every day.
Right. But even though there's not a lot of use, age does.
He says he still can support that because we're not encrypted. You know what I mean?
Right, I
We're
understand.
not talking craziness.
Okay.
So
What's gonna happen to the old vehicle?
we're gonna put it on gov deals and sell it unless the city wants it for planning and zoning. And then we'll sell it to them at an astronomical price.
I would say. if
Well,
it's
did you
giving
say you
half-
wanted to buy a new truck here?
Do what?
Did you say you wanted to buy a new truck?
Yes, and we fundraised for every penny of it. So we're not asking for any financial backing.
And we'll look at between this vehicle and the next squad that goes out of rotation next spring, because that'll be the time frame when these vehicles come in. We'll figure out which one would make sense. If either of them does, sometimes they're worn out pretty good, but if one of them's in good running condition, we'll keep that for planning and zoning and any other city department use.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the request from the fire department to purchase a new Ford F-150 truck from Innovative Ford St. Cloud for $37,176.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those-
Maybe I should include in that too, that the funds come from funds already within the department and they're not new funds from this.
Yes, and that's in your
Yeah.
letter there.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the new firemen also.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks, chief. Resolution regarding the 2022 squad purchase. Authorizing costs for rigging and equipment. So this-
This whole thing's been confusing to me, so we kind of just covered it, but we need to kind of order equipment for the squad car now because we're not really sure how long it will take to get in. DTM, who does the rigging, can't really tell us either, so it is possible that we may get a car and not be able to get it on the road anytime soon after getting it. That was the case the last time. They had the car for a couple of months, but they couldn't get the equipment in it because it didn't come in, so. We would like to get it ordered quicker this year, so.
I'll make a motion then to go ahead and to approve the resolution regarding the squad car purchase authorizing costs for rigging and equipment for the amount of $4,631.40.
It's actually 22,665.08. The radio is the 4691 and the rigging is the
Yeah, nothing's that cheap.
17,974.
Oh, so the,
$17,974.
Oh, that's for the car, though.
and 8 cents. Huh?
The
That's
the
rig-
car was
that's
approved
the
last
equipment.
month.
You can get the car for that. We'll go for it.
Yeah, no kidding. They haven't sold cars that cheap in many years.
Second for discussion.
Some of us can remember when that included the rigging.
well, then I'll amend my motion that we approve this for, and that is the total amount there, right? The $17,974.08.
Just look on the front page, Mark.
Hmm?
Just as presented.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even look at that.
Would
I
be
was
great,
looking at
yes.
this back here. So anyway, then, so the total cost, $22,666.05.08. I'll make the move that motion that we approve that.
I'll second that
Purchase.
for some discussion.
Okay,
Just to ask for Jenny, this is coming out of this year's budget instead of next year's budget.
2022 budget.
Right. Now, we've approved the car, that's not a problem. But if the rigging equipment doesn't come in, do you have the ability to pay for it next year out of this year's funds, or how does that work?
we won't have enough funds
We're
left
not-
over.
All the funds will come out of next year's budget. So all of this will get paid for in 2022. They just
Okay.
need the lead time, the authorization to be able to place the order now.
We're not gonna, we won't be paying for anything until next year,
But
regardless.
I thought we were gonna bring this item into the budget this year because we had money in the budget to buy a car this year.
No, we don't.
Well, the chief is saying yes.
I'm confused by the question, I guess, but I'll defer.
Can I clarify?
Yes,
And then you stop me if I'm wrong.
stop.
Okay. What I think, where we're at is the lead time to order everything is now. We don't pay for anything until it basically gets here, which will be next year. The items, there was money left over in this year's budget, and Jenny and the chief were able to go down and tick off some of the wish list things, some of the things that didn't have to then get included in next year's budget that they were able to pay for this year.
Right.
Okay, so this stuff, all next year.
And I was under the impression it was gonna come out of the budget for this year. That's the reason we did it.
That's the sort of the kind of the confusing thing is we're doing everything kind of in a hurry for lots of reasons, mostly supply chain issues maybe, and trying to coordinate with the dog because a lot of the stuff is specific to the dog. So it's, last year was kind of a messed up year and we're trying to avoid a reoccurrence of that by getting a head start.
Well, now, my understanding is that the car and the gear will be approaching a little over $40,000. That'll come out of the next year's budget,
Correct.
not this year's budget, like we thought it was gonna.
Yes. I was not under the impression, I don't know if that timing, maybe with the canine conversation might have thrown that a little bit, but the squad, we've always budgeted and paid for one per year.
I'm not against doing what we want to do. I just want to make sure it comes out of the right budget.
Yep,
Because 70,000 in next year's budget is a big deal,
Mhm.
not 40,000.
Understood. Yes.
Just from my understanding, I believe that the only time that you can put it into a certain budget is when you're invoiced in that particular year, isn't it? Isn't that correct? Like the car will be invoiced in 2022, therefore it's in the 2022 budget, it has to go into that,
Yes, yes.
right? If they could invoice it now, we could have it in this year's budget.
Well, we run on a cash basis. We need to have equipment in hand and an invoice in the same year is ideal because it causes
Yeah, I
accounting
think that's
issues.
required. You have to be able to have it in hand
Yep.
and the invoice, right?
Yep. That's why this time of year, when we can order things and get them spent in this year, if there's funds available, we have to make sure we can actually get it here before the end of the year and pay the bill. So everything works out timing wise.
Oh, well. I asked the question.
We'll get a new car one way or another.
Okay.
Clear as mud?
She tells me we can't do it the other way, so okay.
Okay. Um,
I
Any further-
seconded it with discussion, so.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay.
Have to say, I thought when I saw I was on 13 here, I thought I'd be here all night. You guys really know how to go through a meeting. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, old business, there is none. Council members, anything to report?
I just hope that as Thanksgiving approaches, that you all have a good Thanksgiving with family and you're all safe.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Appreciate
That
that.
includes the attorney.
But yeah, you took my thing, so there we go. So I have nothing further. I can't, how do I top that? You don't?
You don't?
Mhm. I just wouldn't have thrown Tom like under the bus like that. Okay, announcements and upcoming meeting dates are there. Remind everybody that's here, you know, you can go to our website, you can sign up for notifications from the various departments if you see anything. And that's all. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So I'll move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you very much for coming, folks.
Thank you.